Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday. I'm the Gray Strega, and I'm here to give you your daily collective read for today, Friday, May 31st, 2024. Two cards flying out of the deck before I even finish shuffling. We've got here to begin our Five of Wands in its reversal and our Three of Pentacles. Not surprised to see these cards in combination right now, specifically because we see that during that Taurus cycle, there were a lot of decisions that were being made, a lot of that work uphill. Taurus season was all about building momentum, doing that hard work. And a lot of the energy that put that commitment and effort in during the Taurus season is now feeling that expediency effectively coming through right now in some of that hard work starting to feel like it's paying off. That's going to be showing itself as that feeling of easement. I've been calling this is like the slide down the mountain, if you will. If you were going up that pinnacle during Taurus season, we had that Gemini season start right on the heels of the Sagittarius full moon. And now it's a lot of that like very quick slide towards a lot of the same destinations that you were putting so much of that time, effort, and energy in the first place. And there's stability here. There is stability to be reached during this time, but it's the type of stability that requires, and I'm not surprised to see this with all of that Sagittarius full moon energy coming into play with the Gemini energy, it requires you to let go. It requires you to let go. It's like the type of energy you got to like hold on, but let go, right? Because that moment, that fluidity, that sense of just allowing that momentum to drive you forward at this time is really key. Because if not, it can be one of those moments that feels like nothing is happening or everything is happening, depending on how you are perceiving it. Now, for masculine and feminine energy right now, what we were seeing that was occurring, because we've got energy right now deep in the heart of the divine union, as well as energy that is moving much more deeply into it very quickly. That is the energy that's either having that breakthrough of path work that we discussed, of experiencing what I describe as like a healthy surprise, something that you didn't even recognize, an insight, a breakthrough that you might not have even been anticipating in the path work that you're setting your own conviction towards. Having those moments reaffirms your own commitment to the path work, because you're all effectively or energetically in a space or place where you're healing things that you aren't even putting your full directionality towards, right? These are almost things in the periphery. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming deeper into the divine union frequency, there's that moment energetically right now where there may be a lot of those tangibles that are shifting at a very quickly rate around you, because that's that moment we see that a lot of that energy isn't changing the material external like work to try to change the energy in a connection. This is energy that's trying to get the reality to match what they are feeling energetically. So it's like that cart before the horse thing is in that moment of feeling like you're going to try to move into the manifestation goal when you're not feeling it. This is why when we have that energetic feeling, that movement towards something almost feels like it is inevitable or feels like it is natural, because it's not even something that you're putting a lot of thought or directionality towards. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, I literally want to say there's some energy right now that is in that limbo state of coming out of separation, but also not completely in the divine union frequency. And why are we seeing that right now? Because we are identifying that there's a lot of this energy that was in separation that is building new energetic connections. And some of that building of the new energetic connection that we recently observed was the ability to articulate on what a manifestation goal is. And while we are seeing that some of this energy right now has different manifestation goals, there may have even been a moment of revealing to the counterpart, a potential counterpart, that you have that manifestation goal. And there is a deviation. If there is any deviation there, we're seeing here that that energy is going through that process of inquiring upon the self and asking oneself if there is adaptability to suit the manifestation of the potential counterpart. You got to look at it almost like a Venn diagram right now. So this is why we see even now there's some energy that having that openness of communication, even if it didn't lead to the same determinative manifestation goal, the ability to see if there's some overlap there, right? that ability of being like, wait, there's a place you and I can meet here. That is what is even now allowing for that slow stirring of energy that's starting to continue forward, even at a moment of recognizing that they might energetically want something that feels a little different at this time. That's that expediency. While we see even now some of this energy is actually just moving with a lot more easement into the divine union frequency, because that Venn diagram feels like it's bigger and bigger and bigger. The only space or state that we are seeing that there may be some separation that is occurring here has to do with energy that was starting to build up into a new energetic connection, starting to feel those stirrings towards another energetic connection, potentially even speaking a lot about the past and building that sense of recognition in terms of learning lessons from the past that show that you share a similar perspective on how you're experiencing your own energetic journey. If that is not met with this equal portion of time, effort, and energy that is utilized or able to articulate about what someone desires going forward, that is not the energy that is sticking around to figure out why. That's the energy that's observing that it's not there and just effectively or energetically moving onwards, if you will, right? That's because this is energy in separation, both masculine and feminine energy, that is being very mindful of not creating an unhealed karmic connection. And what would unhealed karmic connection be? An unhealed karmic connection is building an energetic relationship with someone only to recognize that you have different pathwork. And that ability of feeling like you're pulling each other in different pathwork, that is what a lot of the energy is trying to avoid occurring again, because the energy, both masculine and feminine, are working through healing the rift that occurred in experiences of that magnitude that has potentially brought a lot of that energy into separation. Second card in our 5-card spread for today is, we have here our 10 of Pentacles in its reversal. This is what we mean with any of that energy right now. If there's a moment of energetically stepping back from something that was starting to build forth, that's that moment that feels, even now, that may feel a little bit like a conflict space within the self, because some of that energy is still asking itself, recognizing those moments of saying, well, maybe there's something here that needs a more of a wait and see approach. But this is not the energy that is building into that, because this is a lot of the energy that is recognizing that repetition of pathwork in the past that may have happened when you build into that moment of energetic hope and assumption that sometimes doesn't take the reality or the construct of situations fully into observation. So this is a lot of that energy and separation, like affirming to themselves of not wanting to like kind of live under the own veil of their own illusion as to what could be happening, but instead taking the perception of the observable present as the point of fact, right? For the feminine energy, that moment of potentially seeing a masculine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to. Having that moment and saying, well, maybe if I wait, maybe if I give them time, maybe if they build their confidence, maybe if they come to like me more. This is the feminine energy. If they're starting to feel themselves go through that cyclical thinking, this is the feminine energy, remembering the pathwork of the last 10 months, remembering those cycles, remembering what potentially can occur in those moments of saying, I'm not going to assume that something is going to change that I cannot see, because by assuming that something is going to change that I cannot see, I also have to move into something and assume that I am not going to assume that the reality of something is what I experience, right? That is the feminine energy almost amplifying that this is how the feminine is staying on the course of their own healing journey, because this is the feminine energy that is reaffirming to themselves and saying, I'm not building forward in a relationship based on potential. I'm basing it off of the reality of what I am experiencing. While for masculine, that same pathwork is being put into play here as well. Because if this is masculine energy that is either feeling some uncertainty in relationality as it relates to what it is that you want going forward, or if this is masculine energy that is experiencing an uncertainty or a hesitancy on the part of the feminine in your own ability to articulate your manifestation goals. If these were spaces or places where you were vulnerable enough to bring that forth and it wasn't received in the same way, this is the masculine energy that is going through that same process of reaffirming their own commitment of saying, I'm going to be energetically confident. I'm going to tell the feminine energy what it is that I want. And if the feminine energy does not match my manifestation, that isn't an act of energetic rejection. That is an observation point that me and the feminine energy want different things, and better to assume that sooner rather than later than come into a construct where the feminine feels like I brought them into a world of illusion by not articulating as to what it was that my manifestation goal was. So we see even now that is the masculine energy either going internal, doing more of that internal introspective to make sure that they're not going to be misunderstood in relationality to what it is that they're energetically seeking. Or if this is masculine energy that is seeing a feminine that is too adaptable, too flexible, too uncertain about their own manifestation goals, then that is also a masculine stepping back, because that's a masculine that feels that the resilient feminine energy that knows what it is that they want energetically protects the masculine from inadvertently harming the feminine by experiencing a feminine that isn't necessarily able to really articulate what it is that they need, or understanding the full magnitude of what it is that they're trying to manifest. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, coming into divine union, as I said, there's some energy right now that is coming into divine union. And I think it's just interesting because these energies might not necessarily have the exact same manifestation goal. What are they doing right now? They're like moving, they're like back and forth in that vibration, if you will, because they're trying to ascertain if what they would need to effectively change or adjust feels like it is a bridge too far, or it just feels like a bridge that needs to be constructed. Right? This is that expansion point of someone potentially coming into the divine union frequency, some energy right now, encountering energy that has bit different manifestation goals, and looking at their own self to recognize the adaptability point. And what's beautiful about that is the energy that's doing that in such a way that they're not feeling, because it's open, because it's an open conversation, it doesn't feel like a coercion. It doesn't feel like a moment where an energetic connection's already been built and someone feels like they're having the rug pulled out from under them. This is the energy that even in the expansive and the expressiveness and the openness of being able to articulate what they desire, they are feeling the need and desire to want to try to maintain or preserve an energetic connection that is forming. While for masculine and feminine energy that is deep in the heart of the divine union frequency right now, this is that moment that we see that a lot of this energy, the rapidness that so much of this energy is taking right now towards moving towards one another, has to do with the energy that has felt that sense of seeing that beautiful juxtaposition of sharing the same manifestation goals, doing the same healing, experiencing those moments of showing each other's one's insecurities and wounds, and not feeling like any of them are a bridge too far. In fact, these energies are almost working to take those wounds into their own etheric space. This is the energy now that feels like they're trying to make a lot of abrupt changes in the material reality to match the energetic frequency that they're feeling between themselves. That's what we mean when we say you can't move into a manifestation and expect it to change the energy. When you're feeling the energetic frequency, the manifestation almost becomes inevitable. Continuing to get clarification, fourth card in our 5-card spread for today, we have here the 7 of Cups in its reversal. When you know what you want and you're going after what you want and you prioritize what you want and you don't let anything stop you from moving in the direction of what you want, that is moving into the frequency of being able to energetically receive it, because that is that moment that feels like that undeniability point, that feeling of momentum, that feeling of determination, that feeling like you're always moving in that directionality. So we see even now, for a lot of the energy, doing that work in the heart of the divine union frequency, that feeling of doing that for the sake of the energetic counterpart, that being the energetic priority. This is why so many of these changes are being made, because it feels like the changes are insignificant. They're not the focal point. They're just those obstacles that need to be overcome to move you closer towards the energy that feels like it empowers and strengthens you in the sense of moving in the directionality towards it. Because these are energies that are being empowered by the feeling of shared desire, of shared dreams, of shared goals. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming into divine union, we see that there's a lot more of this energy right now that's doing a little bit of this, going like thinking back and forth, if you will, because that's the energy that's doing that Venn diagram right now. If there was something that was expressed here, if there was a moment of openness and clarity, being able to articulate upon what the manifestation goal is, even if there is deviation between these energetic frequencies, the ability to communicate openly about them is creating that moment of assertion, of looking at something and saying, is what someone presented towards me what they desire? Does that feel like it is too off the mark of what I also desire? Or is there a way that there is a place or space where these energetic goals can meet, right? So even in that modality right now, even in that moment of experiencing, of feeling a little bit of energetic disappointment that someone might not necessarily have the same exact manifestation goal as you, this is allowing via the constructive conversation about it. Even now, the potentiality of moving deeper into the divine union frequency. I'm going to say it again. The only thing I'm seeing right now that may be leading to separation is the inability to be able to articulate what it is one desires. Because this is the energy in separation, masculine and feminine, saying this is not a subject for debate. This is not a place of being flexible. This isn't energy that's saying, I don't imagine that this person I just encountered goes through life without having a manifestation goal. And if they do, that's the energy that's healing, saying, well, not having a manifestation goal is also a manifestation goal, right? That's the energetic equivalent of recognizing and identifying that. This is why we see so much of this energy and separation, like operating on this binary, saying it's either there, it's either or not. It's either present or it's not. And the ability to articulate upon it is also valuable and important, because that in itself is the expression of looking at something and saying, I'm not going to try to force the spring or wonder why it's not there. I'm just going to observe whether it's there or not. That's like the energy of the energy in healing, recognizing that half the work of healing has to do with like what you energetically avoid. Fourth card in our 5-card spread for today is, wow, these cards are really slippery today. We've got here our Page of Swords in its upright. This card, have you noticed? This card has been up the last 3 days. We've literally seen this card going up, bump, bump. Are you surprised? It's Gemini season. So if you're having that adaptability, that adaptability right now is either working and serving the energetic good, insofar as it is coming through in the expression of flexibility as opposed to energetic duplicity. So for masculine and feminine energy that is in separation, I have to stress, if these are spaces or places wherein someone was resistant in revealing a manifestation goal, and suddenly they're not, even then, we're seeing here that there might be that moment of anxiety, because that's that moment of potentially seeing that flexibility coming through in a way that doesn't feel like it's positive or productive, so much as it feels more like some kind of energy that's returning for like the means to an end, if you will, right? If that's the energy that felt that pullback because that manifestation goal wasn't brought forth immediately, and someone has had energetic time to think about it, and then suddenly they're coming through with the manifestation goal. Even here we see that already requires some kind of space or place of recovery, because that's that moment that feels like that sense of someone having to think about something as opposed to just being able to bring it forth. Feels like someone who is going through the options of what someone wanted to energetically hear, as opposed to just being able to express it openly. So we see even now that for a lot of that energy, if these are moments of someone feeling like they're trying to recover from something, like energetically recover from a misstep in the inability to articulate on it, even there we see that there may be something there that feels it feels like a little uncertain, because that's that moment that feels like a little bit of that rockiness, right? While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is coming into the divine union frequency, the reason that this feels like it is positive is because both of the energies in healing recognize and identify the difficulty and the challenge and the vulnerability it requires in articulating what it is that you desire, because that allows the amplification of choice in recognizing and identifying that also leaves room for what the other desires. So one of the things that we see right now, which is why even now, if these energies are encountering one another and their manifestation goals aren't completely in lockstep, there's that moment of consideration, of flexibility, that doesn't feel like it is duplicity. It feels more like that energetic equivalent of recognizing aspirations in a counterpart energy that you see and identify are signs of a good counterpart energy that suddenly allow a bit more of that flexibility and relationality to how you're moving towards your manifestation goals, because you are paying a lot of mindfulness that manifestation goals are one thing, but the energy that you're working with and the way that you work with energy is also very important here. So we see even now like that ability to identify and look at something through that Venn diagram and say, is there something here that feels like there's a meeting point? Some of these energies are trying to focus on what that space between is to be able to see if there's something that can build and grow there. But they're doing it in a way that doesn't feel like it is unclear. They're doing it with openness and clarity and honesty every step of the way. While for masculine and feminine energy that's deep in the heart of the divine union, this is the energetic equivalent of feeling like that diagram has reached such a point that it's pretty much a circle, right? Like that's when that Venn diagram pushes out enough that it's just the whole circle. So we see even now that the energy that's hit that moment and they feel like they've hit that circle, like that's that inevitability point, because that's that moment that it feels like it's almost unnecessary to wait or to delay something, because it's not that feeling of feeling like one must move into a manifestation goal to energetically secure something. That's that moment that feels like you want to ground, you want to make something in reality that's already energetically happening. Fifth card in our 5-card spread is clarification coming through right now with our 7 of Swords in its reversal. And what's really beautiful about this, and I gotta say this across all the frequencies, the ability and the affirmation of not desiring to go back to the past is what is creating that, like that's that Sagittarian Gemini combo rush that we're seeing here, like that feeling of like away we go, because it's not the fact that you're being mindless of the past. This is the energy that feels like that act of closure is being reached and received by finding what you're energetically looking for moving forward, right? So even here, a lot of this energy, and even why that ability to articulate and to build upon the manifestation goals is so important, because these energies, and I'll stress this, some of these energies that are working towards this, even now are realizing that if there were past experiences wherein they didn't feel like the energy was right, but they tried to move into a deepening sense of commitment to try to fix the energetic connection between them and another energy, this is that moment that they're having that breakthrough in relationality. I told you those breakthroughs that you received that you weren't even anticipating. This is also some of that breakthrough energy coming through, being like, oh, that clears that up, because this energy is recognizing that they're not rushing and expediting a manifestation goal for the sake of energetically changing the frequency. This is the energy that's healing from experiences of the past where they may have tried to do that, because this is energy that is moving towards the manifestation goal because of the inevitability of the energetic connection. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into the divine union frequency, this is that moment that feels like, why are these energies being more adaptable at this time? Because the ability to experience a counterpart that is able to feel the strength of confidence, to articulate and have the resiliency of holding firm in terms of what they want to manifest, is the amplification of the energy that is healed. That is not feminine energy. That is feminine energy that is recognizing an aspect of healthy masculine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, that doesn't require an act of assumption to move into energetic connection. right? That ability, just seeing that quality and characteristic in the masculine energy, that openness, that honesty, the vigor and the courage and the compassion that it takes for the masculine energy to break through their own energetic hurdles and to be very clear to the feminine as to what they want, recognizing that that doesn't mean that the masculine is promising or committing that to the feminine energy, but it shows a clarity of intention on the part of the masculine's part. That characteristic and quality is such that even if the feminine energy doesn't share the manifestation goal of the masculine right now, they're thinking about whether there's a place that they can work together. They're thinking about if there's some kind of adaptability there, because that's the feminine that feels energetically safe in the energy of the healed masculine. And through that feeling of energetic safety, suddenly doors open. Suddenly things become more possible. Because that's the feminine that doesn't feel like the masculine is trying to work around the feminine. That is a masculine that's articulating the need and desire that you would want to work with the feminine energy. Well, for masculine energy, it is the same. If this is masculine energy that was able to articulate to the feminine what it is that the feminine, what they desired, and the feminine in kind was able to articulate to the masculine with a sense of clarity and intentionality and purpose and resiliency, what it is that they are seeking in an energetic counterpart, that is the healed masculine energy that feels safe and energetically protected around a feminine, because that isn't a feminine that's dealing in this amorphous realm. That's not a feminine energy going, I don't know what I want with masculine. I'm just kind of chasing after a feeling, an ineffable feeling that I can't really articulate. That's not the feminine that's doing that work. That's the feminine saying, no, I know what I want from them. I know what I want in partnership. I'm not trying to attach to an ineffable feeling. I know exactly what it is I'm seeking in the counterpart and my own ability of articulating it, right? That is that masculine that says, this is also a feminine that doesn't just speak about what they want to feel with a masculine, but they're talking about what that looks like. They're able to navigate in the space of reality. There's that resiliency that makes the masculine feel safe, because that is the masculine that feels like they're not going to have to relearn an energetic lesson of trying to build around a feminine that feels like they're too adaptable, but isn't necessarily certain about what they want, which then leads to a moment that feels like an imbalance, because then the masculine feels like they're building a world of illusion around the feminine, because it's something that's ever changing. There's not that moment of feeling like you're on the same page. It just feels like you're constantly having to make adjustments. So we see even now that these energies, even if their manifestation goals don't match, they're thinking about it. They're putting some thought into it. They're thinking, they're trying to see if there's an overlap. The only space or place that we're not seeing some of this work coming through, but even in this context, there's healing occurring, because the energy is feeling like they just accomplished a huge milestone or breakthrough in their own personal journey. They're feeling like they accomplished a huge milestone in their own personal journey. Because if this is feminine energy that recognizes that their emotional connection to masculine was such that in the past they were willing to risk building in the world of assumption towards a masculine, not wanting to ask the question towards a masculine about what they desired, almost trying to move like slowly into it, holding that assumption or hope that maybe the masculine wanted the same things that they did, and maybe the masculine energy would tell the feminine energy what they wanted. This is the feminine energy that feels like their ability to step away from a masculine, that feels like they're starting to have to create that scenario again. This is the feminine going, like patting themselves on the shoulder, saying you did it. You just had the opportunity to potentially walk right back into the thing that you've been trying to heal for the last 2 months, and your own ability of doing the hard thing in that moment, saying, even though there seems to be something in this connection, I'm not moving into that place of assumption. I need that clarity of intention to be a requirement, not an accomplishment to be reached after I've built some kind of passionate, energetic connection with you. This is the feminine going, good job. You like, this is the energy of the feminine going, I did it. My resiliency is helping me break through an energetic hurdle. Masculine energy, same thing. If this was a moment that you were starting to move towards a new feminine connection, and you are doing that hard, energetic work of being open and honest and being very vulnerable in relationality towards what it is that you want, and the feminine energy in response isn't necessarily meeting that energetic vibration, or being like, well, I don't really know. I'm not sure. I have to think about it. I don't know how comfortable, like feeling that sense of confusion, right? This isn't the masculine that's trying to change their manifestation goal there. This is the masculine saying, this is too flexible. There's too much confusion here. There seems to be too much uncertainty. And that's the masculine saying, I don't want to have to guide the feminine energy. Do you see how these lessons have now switched? These were the lessons that they were learning on the opposite scope 10 months ago. This is the masculine going, I don't want the feminine, I don't want to feel like I'm leading the feminine in the direction of something that they don't want to go into. Because that's the masculine saying, when I try to lead a feminine towards a manifestation goal, because they say they're too energetically flexible, taking that wait and see approach, that's that moment that the masculine feels like they get energetically burned if the feminine energy suddenly changes their mind or something of that nature. So we see even now that both of these energies going, the possibility for the connection is there, but not the desire to repeat the same energetic connection. Both of these energies going, you're doing the right thing here, right? Because that feels like even in that moment of asserting, it doesn't feel like you haven't moved away from your own goal. You recognize, you feel like you're really reaffirming your own energetic lesson. That's the no that leads to a yes. Well, for continuing to get clarity on these cards right now, between 3 of Pentacles in its upright, our 5 of Wands in its reversal, and our 10 of Pentacles in its reversal, may I please have one card to clarify, clarification coming through right now with our King of Pentacles. I like to see this card because we saw the Queen of Pentacles in its upright just a couple days ago. Or actually yesterday, I believe. Masculine and feminine energy in separation. This is just, I mean, again, it's a little practical here. I gotta say, it's not working or building into that space of illusion. This is the energy saying, like, the dream can come after the reality is in play, right? It's not saying that this energy doesn't want to dream, but being able to articulate on what the dream is the practicality thing. That's the practical aspect. It's like you have to be able to be practical in terms of knowing what it is that you want. And this is simply the feminine energy reaffirming this is how a lot of the feminine energy in separation is reaffirming their own affirmation. Masculine energies, manifestations, don't change on a case-by-case basis. It's not like the masculine energy is wandering around. This is the feminine energy going, the healed masculine energy isn't just wandering around and saying, I'm going to meet someone energetically and then I'm suddenly going to create a manifestation goal, right? This is the feminine energy being like, if I've encountered a masculine energy, they've got a manifestation goal. If they're moving in any direction in their life, they've got a manifestation goal. If the masculine energy can't articulate the manifestation goal to the feminine, this is the feminine energy saying, doesn't matter what the context is. It doesn't matter what the context is, because that's the feminine energy saying, I'm manifesting the masculine energy that is able to tell the feminine what the manifestation goal is. That's all there is to it. That's all the feminine saying. Like, that's the feminine saying. It doesn't have to be that energetically complicated. And if the feminine energy is already seeing a masculine energy that is making the simple act of articulating what the manifestation goal is complicated, that's a feminine energy going, no thanks. You do you, I'll do you, me, it's okay. Because that's a feminine that just feels like, again, that's either a masculine energy that hasn't come up with the energetic courage to be able to work with the feminine in that capacity, to be able to reveal what their dreams are, or a masculine energy that just simply doesn't want a relationship of that magnitude. Masculine energy, the same. This is masculine energy. If this is masculine energy looking for divine union counterpart, they're looking for a feminine that knows what they energetically want. That is not in that modality of being too adaptable. That's not that's the masculine energy saying, I'm not looking for feminine that feels like their only goal is to find masculine energy, right? This is the masculine energy saying, I want a feminine that has their own goals, that has their own vitality point. And that's the energy, the masculine saying, I want a feminine energy that I can work with. That doesn't feel like that's that moment of the feminine just looking to come inhabit towards me. So both of these energies in healing, working on the self that builds into the energetic connection with the counterpart. because these are not energies that are moving into partnership with the manifestation goal of just having an energetic partner under any and all circumstances. These are energies that are recognizing or even healing from past experiences and saying better to have the right energetic counterpart than no counterpart at all. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union, this is that moment that we're seeing that some of these energies are going through a little bit of static right now, but this is not bad static. There's good static and there's bad static, right? There's the static we make when we don't want to communicate, that like, I can't hear you, versus the static of trying to like adjust the dial to see if you can actually get on a frequency together. So we see that a lot of these energies right now that are coming into divine union, you have that moment, you shared your manifestation goals, you're thinking about it, you're like, I don't really know if I want that, but maybe I do. Maybe I do. Maybe for the right person I would, right? Because that ability now, you see what's happening. It's not that someone is changing for another person. These are the energies that are navigating their own adaptability point to see if there is a place of merging between one person's manifestation goals and another. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is deep in the heart of the divine union frequency, this is the energy just ready to like tear everything up around them just to create the energy of moving towards one another. Because there's that moment that when that Venn diagram becomes a circle, like when those 2 points come together, when you feel like that sense of focusing and wanting the same things and not seeing any hesitancy as to why, then suddenly the energetic connection is there. It's just all the stuff in between that feels like it's getting in the way. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our 10 of Pentacles in its reversal and our 7 of Cups in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify? One card, please. Judgment in its reversal. And this is really beautiful because I told you this is a little bit of that surprise energy that is effectively coming through right now, specifically for a lot of the energy in the divine union frequency, right? That change in perception, that suddenly recognizing something and being like, doi, like that moment is helping a lot of energy heal from experiences in the past. Because if these are spaces and places, I'll put it this way, and this is why this is really beautiful. If these were spaces and places wherein energetic counterparts moved into connection in the past and they recognized that something didn't feel right, and they said to themselves, well, something doesn't feel right, but I'm sure if we just up the ante, I'm sure if we just move into a deeper commitment cycle, I'm sure if we just move forward in that way, something will feel better later. This is the energy that's suddenly recognizing how incorrect that was. Because that is that reminder that moving into a manifestation goal doesn't change the energetic frequency. It just amplifies it. So if you're in that modality that something is off, it's like if something is off key and if you raise the volume to 11, does that change the volume? Does that change the sound of it being off key? Or does it just make it greater? This is the energetic equivalent of recognizing the difference between the feeling of moving into a manifestation goal for the hope of fixing something versus that beautiful divine moment when you recognize that you're moving into a manifestation goal because the manifestation goal doesn't matter. Because the feeling that you share with the person is already there. The manifestation goal is just making it a little bit easier to navigate that feeling energetically. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming into divine union, this is that moment of reconsideration. This is that moment of reconsideration. This is that moment that you're looking at your manifestation goal and you're scratching your head and you're looking at the potential counterpart and you're going, is there an overlap here? Is there something here that we see that could overlap? If there's a deviation between these things, and what we like about this, and this is the beauty of this being an open, expressive conversation about those manifestation goals. These aren't energies that are going, well, maybe I can just come in there and just push this on them a little. No, this isn't energy that's trying to push the other into a manifestation goal. This is energy that is contemplating on the self and the self-work and saying, is there flex here? is there a place that we energetically meet? Is there something that can be created in the space between what I desire and what they desire? Because that is where the beauty lies. And we see even now that a lot of that energy is doing that work in reconsidering their own energetic positions to try to determine and facilitate if there is something there that can be grown, that can be developed, that campfire energy. Well, for masculine energy and separation, if this was a space or place where those manifestation goals were requested and they were not brought forth, this is just a lot of energy that's going like this. A lot of energy going like this. And what's more difficult right now is if there was time between the request of the manifestation goal being brought forth and now the manifestation goal being presented. If it wasn't something that came forward immediately, we see even now a lot of the energy is still feeling a lot of that uncertainty and that doubt. Because that now shifts the conversation from, instead of feeling like an open, honest conversation in relationality to what one desires and aspires, that one is able to speak towards freely, then if something is asked for and there is a delay and then it is brought forth, there's that questioning that occurs and asking and saying, is that really coming from a place of authenticity? Or is that someone that is feeling that sense of feeling like they energetically misstepped and are trying to move back energetically closer to someone, not necessarily from coming from a place of authenticity, but more trying to look towards navigating and saying what one needs to say to be able to facilitate an energetic connection. So we see even now for a lot of the energy and healing experiencing that could feel very difficult and problematic, because that is the duplicity of the Gemini season coming through in what doesn't feel like a magnificent way, but in a detrimental space. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Seven of Cups in its reversal and our Page of Swords in its upright. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Nine of Cups in its upright. Masculine and feminine energy. This is why. Why would the energy in healing build a hesitancy point if they asked for a manifestation goal and someone energetically hesitated? Because that is the energy that recognizes the difference between having an open, productive, positive conversation with counterpart, having that sense of recognizing and feeling the easement that can occur, having that open conversation, versus something that feels like it's being given and delivered reluctantly, or given and delivered in a way that is trying to affect an energetic response, right? So we see even now that for a lot of the energy navigating that, there's some energy right now in separation that may be feeling some frustration, because that isn't something that feels like the kind of work that one would expect or anticipate someone to energetically wait upon receiving. It's more that energetic feeling, if you will, of saying that that is something like we experience and we encounter one another. We have those manifestation goals. So even now, there may be some energy right now that is going through some hairiness as it relates. If there was hesitancy here, because I do see that there is some vector of masculine, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, that may have hesitated from a place of making sure that they didn't want to say something that they didn't mean. So even now, these are spaces and places of energy that may feel like they're either clarifying as to why something took a moment from a place of authenticity, or there's energy right now that is ascertaining if something that feels like it is like uncertain or isn't coming through in a certain way, feels like it is too energetically duplicitous. So we see even now that if that is occurring here, there could be feeling like that sense of rockiness that's occurred. And I feel this is a difficulty. This is a hurdle for some of the masculine energy right now in separation. I'll be honest, because I'm going to stress this, and this is just difficult. Like masculine energy, I mean, I think we recognize this pathwork of energetic courage. We have these moments that, like, one of the reasons that we could describe or aspire courage is not having that, it's just not, like, not having hesitation, right? Like, a hesitation can sometimes articulate upon a lack of energetic courage. So we see even now, like if this is some masculine energy that experienced those moments of having a difficult time articulating what they wanted to say because of it was vulnerable. I'll put it this way, masculine energy. Amplifying that is what occurred from a place of authenticity is probably the best pathwork to correction, right? Because even your ability to articulate authentically your own hesitation for the reasons that were there, that can allow for a point of recognition of the self that helps another understand. So that's even there could feel like a little bit of that amplification, and some of the more difficult energy we may be seeing right now, for some of the energy in separation that's experiencing some of this. But for a lot of the energy right now, that ability of just looking and navigating from that binary, even so, having that be a requirement, an energetic standard, as opposed to some kind of accomplishment after partnership is formed, we see even now that does feel like that sense of breakthrough, because that is that sense of even now recognizing, and even if those conversations are happening of clarification, even that feels like it is positive and productive. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into divine union right now, that sense of looking at the counterpart, the potential counterpart, not necessarily feeling like you're exactly on the same page. This is some of the energy. I will also stress this. Do you see this? Some of this energy feels like it is very healthy, because there's that moment of saying, well, the fact that we are not on the same page articulates the fact that we are both being very authentic. That risk that we take in authenticity, it allows it to be the amplification of choice, which is why we see that this energy is becoming more accommodating and adaptable, specifically because that quality and characteristic is one that feels like it is part and parcel for someone that is on an energetically healed journey. While for the masculine and the feminine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, deep in the heart of the divine union frequency, this is that moment that just feels like a bit of that all systems go. This is why we see so much energy right now making a lot of tangible changes at this time. Because if there's this moment where you've worked through that pathwork between the Scorpio and Sag cycle of coming to understand and see one another in your most authentic, full, raw form, and there was nothing there that you didn't see was a yes, like even in another person's feelings of weakness or vulnerability, you still saw energetic perfection. This is the energy that's like upending things around them right now, because it feels like that's that moment that they're just moving with a lot of purpose towards what they feel is for them, because it doesn't feel like they're moving away from themselves in the process. It feels like they're coming energetically home. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Page of Swords in combination with our Seven of Swords in its reversal. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now with the Ace of Pentacles. This is just why a lot of the energy right now in the divine union, deep in the divine union frequency, is just making a lot of potential energetic changes, or it's reaffirming the pathwork on the commitment end. Because I'll put it this way again, this is not energy that is trying to change the tangible space in order to facilitate a better energetic connection with the counterpart. This is the energy that feels the viability. They feel the presence. They feel the energetic connection is there to such a degree that anything is energetically possible. It's just moving the tangibles to be able to focus upon what is already energetically there. And a lot of that is healing a lot of the energy from past experiences, especially if those are spaces and places that experience moments where they thought they were doing the opposite, where someone said or felt that hesitation point saying, well, things aren't perfect, but maybe if we just take it up a notch, it'll get better. Maybe if we just take it up a notch, it'll get better. This is the energy being like, wow, that was like completely off the mark, because you don't fix something. You don't take something that's off key and then raise the volume and suddenly it's in perfect pitch. That's just that moment that you're like raising the volume on something and hearing how off it is, the louder it gets. While for masculine and feminine energy, that is coming into the divine union frequency, this has more to do with finding that pitch. This is more to do with seeing if there's a moment that you can meet like pitches, because that's that moment that you're like, well, they want something, I want something. We're not completely lockstep on what that looks like, but is there some room there? Is there some flexibility to figure out where that is that we can grow from? So we see even now that that is a lot of energy, even if the manifestation goals aren't aligned. And even here we see that this feels like a huge relief, because the fact is that the energy feeling like that is an open conversation. The feminine being offered the choice by the masculine that is able to speak to them in that capacity. The masculine seeing a feminine that is very firm on what they want and what they don't want. Both of these energies don't feel like they need to live in that world of assumption, or live in that for the feminine, or live in that world of illusion for the masculine. These are energies that feel like they can craft in that space in the way and the means of having a very open conversation. While for masculine and feminine in separation, that's why that energy is saying, I can't force that spring. And that's what's so painful for a lot of the energy in that modality, because for some of the energy, if they're not seeing that ability in the potential counterpart, there is still a possibility here that the energy is not assuming that someone has an unpositive reason for not being able to do so. This is a lot of energy that's looking towards the energy that they're building towards and saying, I want to give you the benefit of the doubt and assume that you're not doing that for nefarious purposes. I want to assume that you're doing it from a lack of courage. Unfortunately, for a lot of the energy in separation, that's a lot of the energy in separation saying, even if it's from a lack of courage, it amounts to the same thing. It's still the same problem, regardless if there's a moment of holding compassion for where I'm experiencing and finding you, or whether you're doing it intentionally. That's the energy saying the risk of identifying which one it is simply too high. It's either there or it's not. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our King of Pentacles in its upright and our Judgment card in its reversal. May I please have one card to clarify, please? Clarification coming through right now. I cannot stop with it. The reason I'm laughing so hard seeing this card is, I don't know if you've picked up on this, but this card has literally been in every single spread this week. The funny part is it keeps going like this. It's going back and forth. It's going upright. It's going reversed. It's going upright. It's going reversed. But that's because we're in Gemini season. Okay. So for masculine and feminine energy that is in separation, that affirmation, both masculine and feminine energy, working on the healing journey, that ability, that desire is simply such. The energy that is in healing is the energy that desires the divine union, because the ability of working in divine union is that feeling of manifesting together instead of two energies that are just working around each other. The ability of manifesting together, of building together, of creating together, feeling that sense of vitality, of that not moving away from your manifestation goal, but allowing you to amplify, being able to fully embody the experience of your path work via the energetic connection of a counterpart that is fully bought into the same aspiration and dream. Doesn't mean you have to have the same exact aspiration and dream. You can have some deviation points, but that ability of feeling like you're pulling together instead of pulling apart, that is where a lot of the healed energy is. And a lot of the healed energy is doing so specifically from spaces and places in the past where they may have built unhealthy connections, recognizing that when we try to grow with an energy that is giving every indication that it doesn't want to grow with you, it's always going to create that feeling of a relationship that feels like it's pulling you apart instead of bringing you together. So we see even now that is the energy that is effectively, even if these are moments right now where energy is separating from those new potential connections that aren't showing that ability to speak towards the manifestation goal, that is the energy that is feeling that sense of accomplishment, because that's the energy that's saying, I'm not leaving it up to being a point of looking at someone and saying, maybe if I play my cards right, this person will decide that they want divine union. These are masculine and feminine energy saying someone either wants divine union or they don't. If they don't want divine union, I'm not necessarily invested in whatever shape that is. I'm not necessarily invested in exploring the possibility of them getting to explore the possibility as to whether they want divine union. That is the energy that recognizes that that's not something that you just stumble into. It's something that requires a lot of work, a lot of consideration of the self, a lot of ability to navigate difficult problems together. That is not something that you just fall into. That's something that you build together. You don't fall into divine union. You rise to the challenge. You rise to the energetic challenge. So that is why we see even now, and that's why even if these energies are recognizing that someone may still be not far enough on their own healing journey to have the ability from the masculine, the resilience of the feminine, to articulate a need of wanting to build with the masculine, not just looking to be with any masculine energy. While for masculine, feminine recognizing that not all masculine desires divine union. Some masculine energy would just be much more happy. They don't see any appeal in divine union. They feel like they haven't learned the fact that of not looking at a relationship beyond it being a burden that deviates you from your manifestation goals. Both of these energies remembering and not building in the world of assumption, in assuming that the energetic counterparts that they're meeting are in the same energetic space as they are. They're saying that moment of saying, tell me what it is you want so that I can interpret and determine if we are on the same energetic journey. So we see even now, even if these are moments that are leading to potential separation, there's that moment that's the no that feels like it is a yes, because that is that moment of saying to the universe, did I stutter? Like, that is the moment of saying, I recognize that if I want to move towards the thing I want, I need to move away from the thing I don't want. So we see even now that a lot of that energy is moving in that modality and that shift. Not just looking for a counterpart and saying, maybe I can have a divine union with that one, but looking towards the energy first and saying, what type of relationship are you seeking? No, I'm not going to assume we're moving towards the same thing. Tell me what that is. Tell me what your goals are. Tell me what your dreams are, and I will tell you if mine are the same. That is the energy that is now feeling like they were putting the cart before the horse by moving towards someone just because they were energetically or physically or passionately appealing, and then deciding after the fact and saying, hey, where are you going? What do you want? Like, what are your plans? What are your goals? What are your dreams? This is the energy and healing that's healing this by saying that is what's off kilter. That is what leads to the unhealthy karmic connections. While for masculine and feminine energy coming into divine union, that adaptability, that ability to experience a counterpart that is able to match your own vibration in their ability of speaking towards what they ideally desire from a partnership. Not just taking a wait and see approach, saying, I don't really know what I want, but maybe if we just stick around each other, we'll figure it out together. Like, even that moment, that ability, that amplification, that is why we see now that just recognizing a counterpart energy that looks at things from the same perspective is now leading a lot more flexibility on what those manifestation goals are, because that's that moment of seeing someone and something and saying, I like the way they think. I like the way they perceive. I like the way that they speak about something. And if our dreams don't match, maybe there's a space or state that they do. So what are these energies doing? They're trying to navigate and see what that could be. While for masculine and feminine energy, deep in the heart of the divine union, this is that moment that Venn diagram, even if it wasn't completely there, like the longer you come to know one another, the more you share your dreams with each other. What happens when you share dreams? Your dream becomes my dream. It becomes our dream. These are the energies right now. This is why we see even now, it doesn't feel so much like these energies are moving away from their pathwork. It feels like their energetic pathworks have merged. And that ability of doing so, it's like everything else requires reconsideration, because that's that moment that it feels not like you're moving away from what it is that you energetically want. You feel like you're becoming more of yourself via the connection to the energetic counterpart. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Judgment card and its reversal and our Nine of Cups. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Five of Cups in its reversal. For a lot of the energy, what did I tell you is happening right now? For a lot of energy deep in the heart of the divine union frequency, you're healing some stuff that you didn't even know you needed to heal, weren't you? Aren't you you're probably healing some stuff you didn't even know you were trying to heal. And a lot of that path work right now, if these are spaces or places where you were holding any blame for yourself energetically, that something didn't work out, or you tried to escalate a partnership into a deeper energetic commitment in order to facilitate healing something that was already energetically broken. This is that moment that feels like that sense of breakthrough. It feels like that sense of oh my, like that wide open moment, and being like that. Moving into a manifestation does not change the energetic frequency. Increasing a commitment level in something that is energetically broken does not change the fact that it's energetically broken. It just raises the stakes. It just makes it more broken. So we see even now that that energy that's feeling the difference of having a lot of those manifestations coming through, but having them feel like they are inevitable, right? You're not like trying to slap duct tape on something by increasing a prioritization point. That's that moment that you're just having the external reality match the internal frequency. It feels like that is the energetic act of closure that's happening around a lot of circumstances or situations, because that is that very quiet door of understanding that suddenly feels like that energetic breakthrough. It doesn't make the past easier, but it does create a lot more understanding. While for masculine and feminine energy that is coming into the divine union frequency right now, this adaptability point, this ability right now, this is why, if this is energy that is encountering energy that is able to talk towards these manifestation goals in such an open way, even in this modality of not necessarily desiring or wanting the same exact thing, that feels like such a breath of fresh air. Ability to talk towards something instead of leaving something like a big question mark existing between you and another energetically. That feels why this energy, even now, is trying to see what can be created in the shape in between what they desire with another versus what they desire versus what another desires, because that's that moment that feels like that. Even here, we're seeing that this feels like the resolution and the closure for some path work, because you're seeing something that you may have not seen that led to separation in the first place. For the feminine energy, seeing potentially a counterpart and saying, well, we might not want the exact same things, but I know I'll never have to energetically assume with them. While for masculine, looking towards feminine and saying, well, we might not necessarily want exactly the same things right now, but I know I'll never have to build in a world of illusion with them. We see even now that these energies are appraising one another and feeling the satisfaction of experiencing and seeing something that is helping validate their own commitment to their own energetic growth and change. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, in separation, the ability to not see that is reaffirming the commitment to move on to what does. This is the energy that even now this feels like more of a challenging space, because if these are spaces and places wherein this is what led to potential separation in that past path work, this is the reaffirmation of a lot of the energy saying, I'm not going back to that experience. I'm not repeating that energetic cycle. If I'm seeing any indication of it, I'm not going to leave myself open to the fact that there might be a small possibility that that's not what's energetically happening, because this is the energy that's affirming and saying the energy that has experienced that same challenge, the energy that has gone through that same painful process, is the energy that is challenging themselves to be open and honest about what they desire in order not to facilitate and repeat those lessons from the past again. Masculine and feminine. That's all there is to it. That's all there is to it. That's just the energy saying it's either there or it's not. And that's the masculine and feminine energy, bearing in mind that's not based on gender, but what it feels most aligned to, saying, I'm not going to probe as to why. I'm not going to wait with expectation to say, I hope one day it presents itself. That's the energy that says the manifestation is not an accomplishment. Having the manifestation revealed is not an accomplishment to be received. It is an energetic requirement to proceed. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Nine of Cups in its upright in combination with our Ace of Pentacles in its reversal. May I have one card, please? clarification coming through right now with our Page of Wands in its upright, because this is all the energy right now in separation is affirming to itself. It's the hardest thing in the world, and it's also the easiest thing in the world. Being able to tell another what it is that you desire is the hardest thing in the world, and it's the easiest thing in the world. Feminine energy recognizes the act of vulnerability it is, even on the healed masculine's part, to be able to open up to the feminine that way. And the feminine energy is saying, I acknowledge that that's hard, but the feminine energy is almost saying, I also do hard things. I am also energetically resilient. We can do hard things. That's the feminine energy affirming and saying yes. Like, that's the feminine energy saying, I recognize that. And that's also the feminine energy that's reaffirming to themselves the commitment and understanding that when they encounter a masculine energy, it's not like the masculine energy is just walking around like this and then suddenly sees a feminine and goes, oh, I better come up with a manifestation goal. Like, they must have a direction. This is the feminine going, you must have a direction. You must know where you are going. That's literally when the feminine energy says to the masculine. This is not the feminine energy asking for commitment from the masculine. This is literally like feminine energy encountering masculine on the path and going, where are you headed? You don't know where you're headed? What are you doing just wandering around if you don't know where you're going? That doesn't make any sense, right? It doesn't make any sense, right? Well, for the masculine energy right now, it's the same thing. It's literally the same thing. This is the masculine energy saying, I want to build forward. If masculine energy is healed, going, I want to build forward with feminine that is headed in the same direction that I'm in. And that ability for the feminine to meet my manifestation with manifestations of their own, to meet that with a yes, not a maybe a like, not a maybe not an I don't know, like like that ability. That also is that moment that both of these energies, they're seeing the possibility of potentially starting on some kind of course with some new energetic connection. But what are these energies doing to a certain extent? They're going, I'm not repeating the past cycles. I'm letting those past experiences set the new energetic standard, right? Well, for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is coming into divine union, what are we effectively seeing at this time? We're seeing that for a lot of this energy right now that's moving into divine union, it's not the fact that your manifestation goals are completely in lockstep. There's something even here we're seeing where potentially we're recognizing that for some of these energies that are coming into divine union right now, there is conversation that is occurring in relationality to any of the disparities between one person's manifestation goals and another. But that's beautiful, productive territory, right? Because that's that moment that what do we see is happening here? There's that sense of energetic curiosity that's potentially forming here in terms of flexibility, in terms of saying to another and saying, like, can I accommodate for that? Is this something that feels like is there an accommodation point that's here, or is your manifestation goal a bridge too far? And in either context, we still see that a beautiful relationship is blossoming. Because even in that space of potentially recognizing places and spaces wherein they may feel like these bridges are too far apart, that ability of openness, that ability of expressiveness, that still leads to a deep energetic connection, because it's a connection that's being built with openness, honesty, clarity, and always the possibility that someone's manifestation goals may change. While for the energy that's deep in the heart of the divine union frequency, what happens when you have a moment where you recognize that you have the same exact manifestation goals as another individual? Everything that you've seen about them feels like it's a positive and not a negative. It's not that there's not something here that doesn't feel like it's negative, but it all feels like everything you see is something that you feel like you can accommodate. Then that's the energy that, again, it's that sense of having to shift the tangible reality, because that's that moment that almost says, like, I haven't even started the journey. I'm moving on the journey now. This is that moment that feels like the energetic breakthrough, because that's that moment of being like, oh, I just found all this. I found my stuff. I found my stuff. I did my soul retrieval. I found all my stuff. I can go now. Like, that's the energy going. All right, now I get started, right? So that's what happens to a certain extent. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Lover's card and our Five of Cups in its reversal. One card to please, to clarify. Clarification coming through right now with our Four of Wands. This is why we see that so much of this energy right now in the divine union frequency is just like it's like picking up the things are moving more quickly, right? Because that's that moment again. If you're not only are these energies feeling that sense of alignment, but it's also creating that sense of healing and catharsis, because that's that moment again. We keep talking about that moment in the present that builds that sense of energetic closure for the past, right? Now, even here, we see that for a lot of that energetic equivalent, this is helping you retrieve something, not just from the present, it's helping you retrieve something from the past via the understanding of something through a different energetic optic. So being able to feel the difference between trying to move towards a manifestation goal to facilitate an energetic connection between another person to deepen, versus having those moments of recognizing that when the energetic connection between you is there, then everything in the practical just feels like, it doesn't feel like it creates it, it just feels like it amplifies it. Like that is that moment that a lot of the energy, it's not that something from the past doesn't hurt less, but it builds that sense of being able to understand in such a way that it makes it easier to proceed forward, right? Because that's that moment that doesn't feel like you left something in the past. It feels like that moment that the present is adding context and understanding as to why you had to move forward in the first place. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming into divine union, this is like that adaptability point, because what do we see is happening right now? These energies, even if their manifestation goals aren't completely the same, they're thinking about it. They're thinking about it. They're looking here. They're looking for the positive. They're seeing what they share, what unifies here that could lead to a productive future outpoint. Because that ability of recognizing in a potential counterpart, an ability to speak openly about those things, feels like such a milestone, feels like such a breakthrough, that it almost creates that state or space of leaving a sense of possibility and promise, even in moments here that these energies feel like even now they may want very different things. They're still reinforcing that connection, because there's that feeling of uncertainty and saying there might come a day that our manifestation goals join. There might come a day that we may feel like there is that possibility or promise. So there's either, again, the beginning of new relationships or deep, deep friendships that are potentially occurring here. While for masculine and feminine in separation, the only place we're seeing that isn't happening, if there are the relationships that started during that Taurus cycle, not seeing an ability to look forward, all the energy sees is saying that person looks good, but they're too caught in the past. They're not ready to let go. They're still so focused on the past that they can't talk about what they want to manifest moving future, because they're worried. This is the energy almost looking with a state of compassion and saying, I think that's that moment of someone that still feels like they left something in the past. And that's the energy saying, it's not my responsibility to encourage someone and say, hey, the future is that way. What you're looking for is that way. You can't go back that way. It's this way. That is the energy that's basically saying that ability to articulate upon the future is where the energy is recognizing and saying, is this person ready to heal? Is this person really ready to move towards partnership? Or are they still holding on to something that they're not willing to relinquish, that's too heavy, that's holding them back and not letting them move towards the future, right? So that's why this energy is also working and saying, I need to see that manifestation goal. Because if all we've done is build an energetic connection about talking about the past, all you've said to me, if it's not ratioed with an ability to talk towards the future, is I am trapped in the past. I'm still recovering from the past. I'm still there. I'm just speaking about being there. I'm still there. I'm still there. Like that's the energetic, we're like, that's almost the energy looking at someone and saying they're literally trapped in the past. Continuing to get clarification on these cards right now between our Five of Cups in its reversal in combination with our Page of Wands in its upright. One card to clarify, please. Clarification coming through right now. Oh my goodness gracious. These two cards, guys, ever since Gemini season started, I cannot separate these two cards. We've just had these two cards coming back together over and over and over again. We've got here our Lovers card with our Devil card in its upright. Because again, what's happening right now, a lot of this energy and separation, what's difficult for some of this energy, if they're moving away from someone and they're not seeing that manifestation goal present, the temptation to proceed forward, it's not that it's not there, it's very present. In fact, like a lot of this energy is wrestling with that right now, because even now, some of that energy of the feminine is going, well, maybe if I give someone a little bit of time, they'll be able to tell me about their manifestation goal. Maybe they're just shy. Maybe they're just reluctant. This is the energy saying that might be the case. But that is also the energy going, I'm doing it again. If that's the feminine, going, I'm building a relationship of assumption with the masculine. I'm not getting any clarity. I'm starting to build an illusory relationship with masculine energy that requires me to assume something is happening that has not been verbally articulated. Feminine's going, I can't do that. I'm not doing that again. That's the feminine energy saying, I see it. Nope, I see it. I'm not doing it. I can't do it. Masculine energy in separation. If there's spaces or places where you're seeing the feminine is very adaptable, is very flexible, doesn't seem like they're really able to amplify or articulate what those goals are. Very malleable. This is the masculine going, it would be very easy to just move that feminine into my manifestation goals. Just bring them with me. And that's the masculine going, I can't do that. Because that will be that moment if the feminine decides they want something or build into that point of resilience. That's that moment that feels less like me and the feminine building together versus a feminine saying, I didn't want to go in this direction. I was just following you wherever you led me. And that's a masculine going, I'm not trying to guide the feminine. I'm not acting as a guide for the feminine. I want the feminine that is the energetic counterpart. So the feminine looking to the masculine for the vulnerability of an expression. The masculine healed looking to the feminine for the resilience and being able to articulate, recognizing what they want in their own manifestation. Both of these energies seeing the temptation of going forward towards someone that isn't expressing that ability and going, I can't. I can't. Just because I can do something doesn't mean I should. So we see even now that a lot of that energy is doing that work in recognizing and avoiding the temptation to repeat the lessons of previous past work. While for masculine and feminine energy right now that is coming into divine union, this is the amplification of the difference of that, where it may feel like there's something very similar that is occurring as it relates to a past experience, but the openness, the clarity, the expression, the ability to articulate upon what those goals are, what those desires are, what those manifestations are, allowing for the construct of dialogue, clarity, and choice. This is the energy that is experiencing breakthroughs in looking back at past experiences and seeing truly how much they were healing from if they were not receiving that in those past experiences. This is why we see even now this energy, even if they are not moving into divine union, are facilitating and helping the other energy heal via V, showing the energy what the healed counterpart could potentially look like, even if the energy doesn't share the same manifestation goals. While for masculine and feminine energy, deep in the heart of the divine union frequency, this is a lot of clarity that is potentially occurring and being received as it relates to experiences wherein, again, you may be moving very fast towards manifestations, but you're not doing that to change an energetic frequency. That ability of suddenly recognizing and saying, oh, that's just happening because it's inevitable. That's not trying to fix something that was broken. That is building clarity on the past, wherein we are seeing and recognizing that there's something about that that is effectively being amplified, wherein we are recognizing that the energetic equivalent here is the moment of seeing something and saying, wow, I understand now how, like, what was energetically wrong with a past experience in a way that I couldn't even perceive before because I was not experiencing it. Sometimes we can only heal when we experience something that shows us what healing feels like. So we see even now that a lot of the energy deep in the heart of the divine union frequency is going through those experiences now that are almost surprising, because they're healing things that they didn't even recognize they needed to heal, because their perception is such that they're seeing it in ways that they never could see something before. Final card for today's spread between our Four of Wands in combination with our Devil card. May I please have one card to clarify? Clarification coming through right now with our Star card. I love it. Masculine and feminine energy right now that is deep in the heart of the divine union frequency. What's really beautiful about this is, again, a lot of that work that we're seeing, but both of these energies doing so much work of healing their internal counterpart energies. And this is that moment we see that it's not that the fact that the energy is doing anything beyond simply energetically existing, that is helping to build that sense of clarity, of understanding, that is amplifying so much of that journey. For masculine energy right now, we're seeing even now that ability of building towards your own journey of energetically healing, that is one that we see has led towards the masculine, moving towards feminine, deep in the heart of the divine union frequency, that feels like it is that modality or that space or place where the feminine energy does not require you to be energetically perfect, right? These are energies that we saw during that Scorpio to Sag full moon cycle that had that moment of revealing each other's weaknesses, revealing each other's vulnerabilities. These are those moments that these energies right now, they're not moving towards each other in divine union because they feel like they need to be energetically perfect, right? It's that moment of creating that sense of ability or accommodation of saying to someone, this is an energy that embraces me in all of my aspects, even the places and spaces that I am working on, even in those insecurities, even in those doubts, even in those fears. That is that amplification point that feels so energetically beautiful, because these aren't energies that are, working so severely to be better for the sake of the energetic approval of the counterpart. These are the energies that are feeling like they found the energetic home in the counterpart that then facilitates them wanting to be their best expression of self for one another, right? Because that's that difference of feeling like one has to make the energetic grade so much as one feels that vitality or that excitement of wanting to become one's best version of self with the energy that is also moving in the same modality, right? That's that moment. It feels like that positive and negative is able to be navigated because it doesn't require you to be energetically perfect to sustain it. It's one that constantly allows you to work through all of that energetic work to be able to find yourself in the process. While for masculine and for feminine energy, that same characteristic and quality is there, right? Because this is not a masculine that is asking you to navigate some kind of external template of who they aspire or desire you to be. If this is the masculine energy that sees you and wants you to just be your most robust version of self, that is also the feminine that feels that sense of aspiration in becoming that, because both of these energies are navigating towards each other with a sense that even in their imperfection, they are seeing nothing but perfection. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, that is coming into divine union, this is that accommodation point, right? Because even now we see that some of these energies, that openness and clarity, it's always a little hard, right? When we speak openly towards one another, there's always that feeling or anxiety that what we offer will be received in the wrong way. But that ability, we see even now, the energy, having those open conversations and recognizing the vulnerability it takes to be able to authentically speak towards what it is that you truly desire and what it is that you truly don't desire, risking the potential partnership or the possibility of partnership in the process. That ability of conscientiousness for the counterpart in that act of being open and authentic, that is effectively what is allowing for that feeling now of possibility to open and expand, because this is the energy that is considering if there is an adaptability point or a place where those paths can merge. While for masculine and feminine energy right now, in separation, that modality of that's why we see that this is on such a firm binary right now. If there is not an ability to talk towards what it is that you aspire and desire going forward, this is not energy that is sticking around too long to try to identify and articulate the what ifs or the why that is occurring. This is the energy that's almost expressing and saying it's there or not. It's either there or it's not there. The reasons why can't necessarily be navigated, just needs to be observed. And that ability of doing so, it feels like the energetic breakthrough, because for the feminine energy, that's the feminine saying, feeling that in high rising of the self, the feminine affirming and saying, I value myself enough that receiving a manifestation goal isn't an accomplishment. It's a requirement of engagement, of any engagement. Like that's like state your business. Like it's like state your business. You have to know where you're going if you want to go anywhere with the feminine energy. That's why the feminine that's healing is saying to themselves. And that's the feminine saying, when I do that, I honor myself, because I say that I don't need to move for trying to seek approval from a masculine that's going to give that to me like some kind of like prize out of a Cracker Jack. That's the feminine energy that says to the masculine, like, do you know where you're going? Good. We can go and we're going in the same direction. While as for masculine energy in separation, there's that modality that feels more like the internal challenge, because the masculine energy seeing a feminine energy that's so adaptable or flexible, the possibility is there to build an energetic connection, but at what cost? But at what energetic cost? Because that's that moment of the masculine, again, wanting to build with the feminine instead of building energetically around a feminine. And that requires the feminine to know themselves enough to be able to articulate what it is they desire, so that it feels more like the energy is moving with the masculine with a sense of clarity and determination and focus, rather than feeling the masculine, that building that is a point of anxiety of a feminine that articulates that they feel like they were kind of led into an experience that they didn't want, even though the feminine never really articulated what they wanted in the first place. Bottom of the deck on this reading right now is our Seven of Wands in its reversal. Masculine, I mean, here's the thing, I will say this is a little bit of that prickliness that we're seeing. I've been hearing this a lot. Everybody's saying that this energy is a little prickly. You're right, it is. Right? That's that Gemini energy. It's willing to switch, right? It's willing to change. It's very adaptable. And that adaptability can be very positive in certain constructs. If you're utilizing that to have a moment of being curious, of having a moment of being adaptable. We see here in like some of the higher frequencies, that ability, that advantage point of things changing quickly can be very positive, because that can feel like a little bit of a switch that's getting hit. They can turn the light on. Whereas, again, if there's energy here that feels like, and that adaptability isn't that sense of adaptability of compassion for the counterpart, but more an adaptability of trying to change into whatever another person like desires or requires, then that's where that starts to feel like duplicity. That starts to feel less like the energy that's moving from a place of authenticity, so much as someone who's trying to like, shift, if you will, into what will allow them to move towards what it is that they aspire and desire. So we see even now a lot of that energy being able, the best way to navigate something like this is recognize and identify what feels like it is natural and adaptable, because adaptability is a part of the natural experience, versus something that feels like an unnatural adaptation. Like someone changing from like one opinion to another, like over the course of the night, or flipping from one thing to like something that doesn't feel like it makes like that logical sense, if you will. That, especially if it relates to waiting for a manifestation goal that seems like it's too adaptable towards your own, right? Like that same ability here can kind of articulate the difference between someone having a sense of like I said, flexibility, versus something that feels like it changes so quickly it doesn't feel like it's natural. It feels like it's doing so to be able to like get to the means to an end. That is our daily collective energy update. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, you can book one on my website, graystrega.com. My private readings are done over video, and if you are a subscriber to my TikTok, you can take 10% off any of my services when you pay. Just mention your subscriber name at the point of payment. Please keep in mind, if you book a private reading with me, it is a 2-step process. You have to book the reading, you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please, please, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my website. So I encourage you to do it there. Also, a few quick updates before we close out today and begin our personal readings. First and foremost, I would like to let you guys know that we will be having our next tarot class on June 16th. That class will be focusing on, on the High Priestess. So far, we've done classes on both the Fool and the Magician. All you need to do to become a part of those classes, if you are interested in enrolling, is become a paid subscriber to my Substack, graystrega.substack.com. Your subscription will grant you access to each month's classes, as well as the course materials and the recordings for all of the previous classes. So if you've missed any of those classes, you've got ample time to catch up. You'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you have in relationality to what we are learning. Also, if you decide to become a founding member to my Substack, not only do you get a discount on the full year's worth of classes, you will also receive a one-on-one mentorship reading with me, where we will focus on your own tarot journey, and I'll give you insights on what you can best take from the classes and your own pathway work to utilize that work to the best of your advantage. Second of all, we are now having a giveaway. All you need to do to enter to win a free tarot reading with me is head over to the link tree in my bio. There is a 2-minute travel survey there. Filling out that 2-minute travel survey will grant you entry into the giveaway. But I'm giving away not one, but 2 tarot readings this month. And all you need to do, if you've already taken the survey, all you need to do is refer a friend to take that survey, because when I pull the winner for this month's survey, I will be asking them who referred them to take the survey, and whoever referred them will also be winning a reading. So if you've already taken the survey, thank you. And if you would like more opportunities to enter, just go ahead and share that referral link. Finally, I'd like to let you guys know about 2 new offerings I am now offering those who work with me. First and foremost, we are offering mentorship classes now. Those mentorship classes can be purchased on an individual or monthly class package level, which would be a class package of 4 45-minute readings over the course of a month. Those mentorship classes are customized and unique, focusing on the area of study that you are interested and invested in learning in. I only take a limited amount of students for that reason, so thank you to everyone who's already become a part of that. And if you'd like to, please do so soon so I can make sure that you can have a spot. Second of all, we are now offering for those clients of mine who like more weekly tarot insight, our weekly tarot insight packages, which is a package of 4 30-minute readings that you can have throughout the course of a month to be able to be more consistent in terms of staying updated on where you are in your own personal journey. I want to thank you guys so much today for being here and receiving these messages. And we will do this again tomorrow.